Hey, so good to see you here. Hey, I got a question for you, right? You have a background that I just admire, right? You're the guy I want to grow up to be someday, right? You spent a lot of time in the law enforcement world. I like for, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about your background because I had the honor of spending a dinner with you and Tiff last year at the A Girl and the Gun conference, and I'm hoping I'll see you there this time here next
Yes,
week.
sir. Next weekend I'll be there.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to spending time with you. But what I'm looking for was uh, you're a fighter, right? I enjoy a good fight too. And you've done a lot of stuff in the cop world that I think is so interesting. And really, it kind of tells people who you are. Do you mind telling us a little bit about your cop background?
Oh, sure. Well, when I didn't really want to be a police officer, but there wasn't a whole lot of jobs in Buffalo at the time, and it was kind of like my dad was like, "Well, you didn't take college serious, so now you got to do the family business." So I went down, I took the civil service exam. I got called up, went on in 1992, and when I got on, crack had hit Buffalo pretty hard.
Right.
It was during the crack wars, and there was a guy named Sly Green who had just went to jail, and he had kind of consolidated drug trade on the east side of Buffalo. And so when he went away, the Fed snatched him up, and when he went away, there was a war, literally for the territory. And so my precinct, my precinct was one of the smaller ones in the city. And Buffalo's only on 40 square miles, but it goes up high. And there was, at that time, I think it might have been 500,000 people in Buffalo, but we had 40 homicides in my precinct that year, and so it was crazy. I mean, we were doing 40 calls a night, stuff like that, and so by a year in, I was well seasoned, and learned, some pretty hard lessons, and also learned that biggest tool that I had as a police officer was this thing right here, that if I used it properly, then things worked out. Say at first came out swinging knuckles because I'm a rookie and, and all that. But then after a while you go, can't fight everybody, saying actually doing some really good police work. And so that kind of, while I was doing it, I was also going out to the Erie County training center where we trained. The county ran the training center for us. The police academy, and I would go out there and help out there. And so it helped to learn how to become a firearms instructor. And so for the first year and a half, because of the way things were there, you didn't talk to anybody. I think it was like I just hung targets, got coffee, sweat brass, and just watched, for a long time, which was cool. And that's now when I approach training, I approach it from an apprenticeship standpoint. I think that's how it should be. Unfortunately, we don't get that now. Everybody wants to just push the big red button and be a firearms instructor. But I was fortunate that I went through that. So I got 2 trials by fire. I really did, and growing up in, I didn't grow up in the best neighborhood either. So, it was a lot going on for me. And what I learned, actually, what happened was I ended up having to actually use my gun off duty in the neighborhood I grew up in. Right.
I know that one.
Right. Right. And then the second time it happened, I said, you know what, I need to get better. Right. And that's when I went away to Tactical Defense Institute in East Bethany, Ohio, with John Benner and those guys down there, and they completely broke me down and rebuilt me as and I thought I was hot stuff. I was one of the better shots in the Buffalo Police Department, but when I got down there with a gun, and I was like, well, I got to get much better. And John Benner was a wonderful guy, and he was nice enough to let me come down there and even like adjunct instruct a few times, and I just once again just sat back and took notes. But we did a lot of crazy calls, a lot of stuff. That was the thing that really galvanized me on really helping people defend themselves, because Buffalo is only on 40 square miles. My precinct might have been, 40 square blocks, if that. And we always got there after it was over.
Yeah, all the time.
And crime scene tape. I mean, I think I stopped 2 rapes in progress. You know what I'm saying? And when I mean they were in progress, so, we when we got there, the deed had been done, and I realized then really that we are reactive. Police departments, police officers are reactive. We get a call, we get there as fast as we can, but usually it's still too late.
So you touched on a couple things I think are very important for people to hear, right? One, when somebody like Ox says, okay, I spent a year or so with Buffalo, and within a short amount of time, I was kind of a veteran. Understand, police departments are not the same. A very, very busy police department like Buffalo, you get more in 1 year there than you would in 10 or 15 years in a very smaller agency, even half the size. So within a 1 year, you become extremely veteran, as I would say it, on seeing what crime does to humans. So Auk here, as we talk to him, understand you're talking to a beast of a human being who has dealt with some of the worst stuff out there and truly understands violence, which is kind of the mission of defenders, right? Furthermore, as you're hearing him talk about that, we show up after the fact. Auk, I don't know about you, but I was only there at the commission of the crime 5 or 6 times in my entire 10-year career, right? It's always, I come afterwards to take the report, and I figure you're kind of the same way, which really to me tells me that our audience, the people we're trying to reach, you are your own defender.
You are.
Right? You are the one that's got to save you. The cops are there to take a report and then testify to help you in court if you need to be helped in court, or to hurt you in court if you need to be hurt in court. But at the same time, if you're not there to defend yourself, even though there's stud muffins like Auk out there who do this, they're not going to be there when the time comes. So therefore, it's important to do it. And what I think, Auk, for you, the beauty thing that I found was the same way. We're walking the same path, that we're trying to empower other people to be their own defender so the cops don't have to come write their report. Yes. And I just think that's so important that people hear that.
It's extremely important. And like I said, we got there. Our response time was darn quick, but it still didn't matter. And I mean, I remember one time being at one shooting and looking down the street and seeing the muzzle flash from another gunfight down the street. Literally. Jeez. I mean, and I say that to say is that, here we are down the street, you know what I'm saying? And I couldn't be down there to save that guy who got shot, even though I watched it happen, And so, yes, please, you are, the Supreme Court has so much as said it in several cases, you literally are your own first responder. I mean, everybody else is a second responder. I mean, we should, like you said, fire extinguishers so that we can control a fire until the guys who really do that get there. We know a little CPR, first aid, so that we can do what, if our nephew's choking on a Jolly Rancher, we can do something, until the professionals get there. And what, firearm is what, so that you can control that situation and protect yourself and your family until the guys get there. So I can't stress that enough. Adam's 100% correct on that.